After this short introduction, we are going to present the method for the determination of drugs of abuse on carotene matrix using mass spectrometry detection connected to a gas chromatographic system. What do we need for this analysis? GC-MS medium level, ready-to-use kit, controls level 1 and 2, HPLC grade water, micropipettes and tips with variable volumes, standard vials, glass volume reducers for vials, caps for vials, scales, scissors, vortex, carotene samples, installation and conditioning of the gas chromatographic column according to the specifications reported by the manufacturer, Pyrex tubes, oven, evaporator, concentrator or nitrogen to dry solvents. We see specifically how Eureka kits function from the samples preparation to the injection of the calibration results. The kit is composed of the following materials: reagent A, dilution solution; reagent B, buffer solution; reagent C, conditioning solution 1 and wash-free; reagent D, conditioning solution 2; reagent E, eluting solution; reagent F, wash solution 1; reagent G, wash solution 2; reagent H, derivatization solution 1 for amphetamines; reagent I, derivatization solution 2 for amphetamines; reagent L, test solution amphetamines; reagent N, test solution opiates, methadone, cocaine, buprenorphine and metabolites; reagent M1, derivatization solution 1; reagent M2, derivatization solution 2; reagent O, internal standard solution for basic abuse drugs; reagent P, internal standard solution for amphetamines; reagent Q, extraction solution; reagent R, hair wash solution; reagent S, blank hair; reagent T1, chemical standard solution; reagent T2, chemical standard solution 2; reagent T3, chemical standard solution 3; reagent Q, stabilization solution; column for extraction SPE. A crucial point is the sampling of the hair. The recommended length is around 5 cm, starting from the scalp. A lock of hair is cut off, not torn, in the region of the posterior vortex of the head of the last 200 mg, which is divided into 2 aliquots of similar weight, A and B, each of which contains the proximal end. These samples are placed in separate containers with non-transparent airtight caps and sealed with removable tape and stored at room temperature. The hair must be cut with scissors that should be cleaned with a small amount of alcohol and then dried. At this point, we are already at a crossroads. We must follow a different preparation, depending on whether we need to confirm an amphetamine or other drugs of abuse. We take as an example a run of 5 carotene samples. Together with these samples, we will also analyze 6 calibrators of known concentration, which will help us to plot software automatically on the calibrator curve, and 2 controls, level 1 and 2, that serve to check the validity of the calibration curve, and so the entire analytical session. The first phase is the preparation of unknown samples. For convenience, in this analytical session, we will focus on the calibrators. The 2 controls are wrapped apart with their own method. Wash intact hair in a 10 ml glass tube with 2 ml of reagent R. Close this tightly Recap the tube and vortex for 1 minute. After that, you centrifuge for 5 minutes at 3500 rpm. Open the tube and clean a pair of pliers with acetone hair from the tube. Remove the hair from the tube and place on paper towels until completely dry. Repeat the first step to wash the hair completely. At this point, you can cut washed and dried hair into segments of 1 to 2 cm with scissors cleaned with acetone. Weigh an aliquot of samples, between 20 and 50 mg depending on the availability of the sample, into a Pyrex glass tube, with a screw cap clean and formally assigned. At this point, you can proceed with the preparation of calibrators on 6 levels by successive enrichments. You have to prepare 3 glass test tubes. Name them 1A, 1B, 1C, and dissolve each chemical standard contained in the kit, T1, T2, T3, with reagent A diluting solution, as reported in this table. We close the tubes with a cap and vortex for 1 minute. Now we prepare 6 glass tubes of 10 ml called CO, C1, C2, C3, C4, C5. We add to each tube fresh chemical standards 1A, 1B, 1C, and reagents T1, T2, T3, referencing this table. We dry each calibrator using a flow of helium or nitrogen. In this step, the working temperature must be less than 40 degrees Celsius. We add to each tube of calibrators CO, C1, C2, C3, C4, C5 dried, 50 mg of reagent S, blank hair, supplied in the kit. You will then get the concentrations reported in this table. At this point, we need to start preparing the internal standards preparation. For the entire run, the reagent O, internal standard solution for basic drugs, and reagent P, internal standard solution for amphetamines supplied in the kit, must be diluted 1 to 10 with water before each use. You have to prepare sufficient volume for the entire analytical session. In our analytical session with 5 unknown samples, 6 calibrators and 2 controls, it is necessary to prepare 25 microliters per 13 samples, namely 325 microliters of internal standard, reagent O diluted and reagent P diluted. Therefore, take 32.5 microliters of reagent O, internal standard for basic drugs, or 32.5 microliters of reagent P, internal standard for amphetamines, and dilute with 292.5 microliters of H2O, respectively, in 2 glasses test tubes. Vortex for at least 10 seconds. The solutions are now ready for use. It is important to remember that reagent O, internal standard for basic drugs, and reagent P, internal standard for amphetamines, undiluted and not used, must be closed tightly and stored frozen at -20 degrees Celsius. We proceed with the digestion of the molecules of the hair. In every tube previously prepared, you add 25 microliters of diluted reagent O, 25 microliters of diluted reagent P, and 1000 microliters of reagent Q extraction solution. Close the tubes tightly and gently mix and flip them for 10 seconds. Then put in the oven at 45 degrees Celsius for 18 hours. The following day, we proceed with the cooling at room temperature, and then we open the glass test tubes. We add to each tube 2 ml of reagent B, buffer solution, plus 45 microliters of reagent V, stabilization solution, and we check that the pH is 6.0, more or less 0.2 pH, with litmus paper, or even better, a pH meter. If the pH is not correct, you can make corrections with sodium hydroxide 0.1 molar and hydrochloric acid 0.1 molar by mixing and rechecking the pH after each addition. You can now close the tubes, vortex for 1 minute and centrifuge at 3500 rpm for 5 minutes. Everything is ready to go with the conditioning of the SPE columns. We prepare a number of columns that correspond to the sum of calibrators, controls and unknown samples. To each column we should add 1.5 ml of reagent C, conditioning 1 and washing solution 3. We pass all reagents through the column and we discard the dilute. As in the preceding step, we should add 2 ml of reagent D, conditioning solution 2, to each column. Pass the reagent through column and discharge the dilute. We add all the supernatant of calibrators, controls and unknown samples prepared in the previous phases in picked conditions columns and discharge it with a flow of 1 ml per minute, drop by drop, if necessary with the help of a vacuum. After we have activated the columns and uploaded the samples, we wash the SPE columns. First, we wash each column by adding 2 ml of reagent F, washing solution 1, and we discharge the dilute. Then wash each column again, this time with 2 ml of reagent G, washing solution 2, and we discharge the dilute. Finally, we wash each column for the third time, this time with 2 ml of reagent C, conditioning 1 and washing 3. And in this case we pass all the liquid through columns and discharge the dilute. Unlike other washes, this time you dry the SPE column with a gentle airflow. The last phase, the elution, must be carried on strictly in Pyrex glass tubes with a stopper. Now you are again at a crossroads. You will have to follow a different elution mode, depending on whether you need to confirm an amphetamine or other basic drugs of abuse. If you're looking for a basic drugs of abuse, proceed with elution by adding 1 ml of reagent E, eluting solution. Even in this step, take to dry the column with a gentle airflow. Collect the elute in a Pyrex glass test tubes and vortex. The elute should be dried with the help of a stream of helium or nitrogen, making sure that the temperature remains below 40 degrees Celsius, or with an evaporator or concentrator. At this point, add 25 microliters of reagent M1, derivatization solution 1, plus 25 microliters of reagent M2, derivatization solution 2. Close the tube tightly with a cap and vortex for 20 seconds. Then put in an oven at 70 degrees Celsius for 20 minutes. In the meantime, we move to the gas chromatograph to activate the method carried in basic drugs, downloading the instrumental method so that the GCMS system sets itself to the correct flows and temperatures. After, we plot work sequence that contains calibrators, controls and unknown samples. When 20 minutes has passed, cool the tubes at room temperature. Then we transfer all the samples in vials with reduced volume for the autosampler. We place the vials in the tray of the autosampler and start the acquisition sequence. If we're looking for amphetamines, proceed to elute, adding 1 ml of reagent E, eluting solution. Even in this dry step, we dry the column with a gentle airflow. Collect the elute in Pyrex glass tubes and vortex. The elute should be dried with the help of a stream of helium or nitrogen, making sure that the temperature remains below 40 degrees Celsius. Or even better, through the evaporator or concentrator. At this point, add 35 microliters of reagent H, derivatization solution 1 for amphetamines. Tightly recap the tube and vortex for 20 seconds. Then put in the oven at 80 degrees Celsius for 5 minutes and let cool at room temperature. Then we add 15 microliters of reagent I, derivatization solution 2 for amphetamines. Close the tube with a cap hermetically and vortex for 20 seconds. Put in an oven at 80 degrees Celsius for 5 minutes. Meanwhile, we move to the gas chromatograph and activate the Keratin amphetamine method by downloading the instrumental method so that the GCMS system sets the correct flows and temperatures. Thereupon, we construct a work sequence that contains calibrators, controls, and unknown samples. After 5 minutes, we return to the preparative phase, where the tubes are cooling at room temperature. After that, we transfer all the samples into vials with reduced volume for the autosampler. We place the vials on the tray of the autosampler and start the acquisition sequence. Every 18-19 minutes, we will get a result. So, for our session of 5 Keratinase samples, plus 6 calibrators and 2 controls, in about 4 working hours, we will have all the results. Ultimately, the use of Eureka Kit for the analysis of drugs of abuse and Keratin matrix allows labs to obtain sensitive and accurate results, provide appropriate reports, optimize machine time, optimize work time. In the next few days, we will send you the method, where you can note all chromatograms matching each molecule spectra as well as the parameters of the method. Currently, the Eureka Kit that I have presented is the only ready-to-use kit on the market for the dosage of drugs of abuse and Keratin matrix. And now, let's do a quick summary. In this video, we have highlighted the importance of the determination of drugs of abuse and Keratin matrix in the context of forensic toxicology. Examined how to use the kit in analysis. One last important thing. Tomorrow, you will receive a report with the entire transcription of this video. I suggest you print it, so you can always have it on hand for future reference. Make a good analytical session and I will see you in the next video.